Thank you. Hi, Jensen. I'm here. I guess my question is more about the longer term. How you see, the frontier model market shaken out? If you look at the history of tech, over the last 20, 25 years, there's always been one or two winners. We still have a lot of frontier models, and fairly fragmented market. At least from my usage point, they all seem pretty similar to me. So I'm just curious as to hear your thoughts about how do you see the market shaken out? Do you think AI is so different that we need so many frontier models going forward, or if there's going to be a shakeout, what do you think will cause that? Thank you.
Good question. As soon as, like for example, if everybody I work with is smarter than I am, they're all smart enough. Are you guys following me? If all the AIs are smarter than we are, then they're good enough. And so that's what you're feeling. You're feeling the good enough for general use. But for domain-specific use, they're hardly good enough. And that's where, I think you're going to see a fair amount of breakthroughs this year in vertical agentic systems, because I think it's not easy to just boil the ocean and make every AI be great at, on the one hand, chemistry, and on the other hand, biology, and also, drive a car and do it effectively and efficiently. I don't think you could reasonably do that. I have a fairly good understanding of the technology. I don't think you're going to reasonably do that. The technology is related, but optimizing for all these different domains is quite different. And the specialization of the workflow, the flywheel, the data, the training, even the people to evaluate it is very vertical. And so I think long before I'm worried about the foundation model industry, I think verticalization is clearly going to happen. Now, are the verticalization going to happen outside the foundation model companies or inside the foundation models? That's a different question. However, in many of the companies that you're thinking about, remember, they already have verticals. Meta already has very deep verticals in digital marketing and in AI ad serving, and so they have a lot of verticals that they're very, very good at, and it's not likely that they need to, or it's not likely they will give up that model creation to somebody else, because that vertical is too important to them, and they own the channel, they own all the expertise. You could say the same with Google, and you could say the same with X. You could say, does that make sense? I mean, there's several different companies where their go-to-market is so good because they're already domain experts in those verticals. I think that flywheel is going to continue to sustain. In the case of OpenAI, they are the Google of our time. And I use all of the AI models, but I kind of, for some reason, always go back to ChatGPT. And I kind of always go back to Google. And so I think they've become that, and so that's a great outlet for them, the consumer outlet. In the case of Anthropic, their enterprise capability is really, really good. And so maybe that's their angle. I think that ultimately each one of these model makers have to find an outlet, a channel that they very, very significantly secure. And otherwise, for everybody else, it's going to be open models. I just mentioned 5 of them that actually are fairly secure. But for everybody else, I think open models is likely to be the answer, and then they're at the frontier. They're not the frontier, but they're at the frontier. Maybe they're months behind. And we'll keep everybody there. And companies like Lilly and companies like ServiceNow, and they could take it and create their own version of AI. The ServiceNow AI, the Snowflake AI, and then but they build it off of open models. My sense is that that's likely the outcome for the future.
What do you think in that world is the moat? What's left over? I mean, you have some moats that are, frankly, I think, as this scales, almost insurmountable. The best one that nobody talks about is probably CUDA, which is just like an incredible strategic advantage. But in the future, if a model can be used to create something incredible, then the next spin of a model can be used to maybe disrupt it. Sort of in your mind, what do you think for these companies that are building at that application layer? What's their moat? Like, how do they differentiate themselves?
Deep specialization. deep specialization. I believe that these models, they're going to have general models that are connected into the software company's agentic system.
Right.
Many of those models are cloud models and proprietary models, but many of those models are specialized sub-agents that they've trained on their own.
Right. So the call to arms for you, for entrepreneurs, is look, know your vertical.
That's right.
Know it as deep and as better than everybody else.
That's right.
And then wait for these tools because they're catching up to you, and now you can imbue it with your knowledge.
That's right.
And
And the
your
sooner
edge.
you connect your agent, the sooner you connect your agent with customers, that flywheel is going to cause your agent to get
It very much is an inversion of what we do today, because today we build a piece of software and we say what generalizes, and then let's try to sell it as broadly as possible, and then sell the customization around it.
And we trap.
And in fact, exactly right. We create a horizontal, but notice there are all these GSIs and all of these consultants who are specialists who then take your horizontal platform and specializes it into.
Exactly.
And that's arguably a 5 or 6 time bigger industry is the customization.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, the whole that
very much is.
That's right.
Very
So I
valuable.
think that these platform companies have an opportunity to become that specialist, to become that vertical,
Right.
domain expert.
I just